journey to the everlasting resting place where we are reunited with our family. We have left our family here on earth. When we make that final resting spot, the sand is what you'll feel on the bottom of your feet, and you'll hear like the waves of the water. Then you just go off to be reunited with your family, the ones that have passed away.
As a mother who has lost a child, sometimes we get worried that people will forget our children. And I wanted to do something to honor that and to honor his memory and to honor his existence here and to share our ability to move forward.
The sand teachings is part of the opening. When the elder was here, he asked that we would like take a piece of cloth and some sand, and then you just take a piece of cedar for the medicine part, and you just wrap it up tightly, and you can make your offering. It's just like a nice gesture, giving your loved ones maybe some precious food that they might require in the afterlife. Because when our son passed away, he came back down in dreams, and he contacted people and to let us know that we were feeding him too much, and we can't feed him like every day.
Our kitchen table, like growing up, was never a kitchen table. It was a bead table, and it was just full of beads. And if you had room to put your plate on there to eat supper, then that was good. But we spent a lot of time around a table, working together, and there were beads on the kitchen table instead of beer bottles. And that quote also reflects the memories of when our loved ones died, before we lost Jesse. There was always alcohol involved, I have memories going to funerals. You go to the funeral and then you go to somebody's house after where everybody is drinking and they're crying and they're fighting, and that goes on for a couple days. And so that teaches us, like, is that how we grieve? Is that what funerals look like? Is that, And so when Jesse died, I didn't want it to look like that. Like, I needed it to be something positive, like done in a positive way. And so, like, that quote is, it's something that I feel strongly about. Bojo, giwed non koi indigo, makwa ndotem, wabidanga ndonjiba. My name is Shannon Gustafson. I am a registered member of White Sand First Nation. I currently reside in Thunder Bay. I am a mother and a wife and a grandmother.
Bojo, nisho gabo indigo, maingin dotem, wabidanga nindonjiba. I am known as Ryan Gustafson, and we are here in the Thunder Bay Art Gallery. Why our exhibit is here is to showcase a positive way how to grieve with a loss. And in our case, my firstborn, Jesse Gustafson, and his Anishinaabe name is Piitwewetam. His name means rolling thunder.
A lot of the pieces sort of reflect our journey, our lifestyle. A lot of them are very meaningful pieces. And it's just about sharing our journey. Each of these pieces sort of tell a story of that.
So Piitwewetam, Making as Medicine, is a commemorative art exhibition that is honoring the late Jesse Gustafson. Our role was to work together with the Gustafson family so we could share their story within an art gallery setting. With this show, it was important for Ryan and Shannon to share with the community a different way of grieving through the making of ceremonial items.
Bonjour, Gakanawia, Gina Dijnakas, Kitchenameka Sibindonji, Mayangan and Dodam, Anemki Wakwadong Dijda Nungam. My name is Jean. I'm co-curated this commemorative exhibition with my twin sister.
Medicine in the language is actually Mushkiki, and medicine is, it can be referring to plants, but it could also actually be referring to making, like the making is medicine.
Medicine comes in all different forms, you know, whether it be like medicines from the earth or things like laughter. You know, like a lot of the creativity that stems within our family is something more than just the act of sewing or beading. It is about connecting with our ancestors. It's about connecting with our culture. It's about learning about the history of our people. You know, like I feel very blessed with the fact that everyone in my family is creative. And so that's something that we do together as a family to bond. We've always done that. When our family started to work on the project, what we did was we got together every Sunday. We would call it bead day. That's what it was. It was bead day. And we sat as a family and worked on this project.
Although like there was a time where like our beading kind of stood, where we didn't progress or we didn't move anywhere because we were like so down. And believe me, like I'm still like hurting today, and I just find other ways how to find like today is a blessing day.
Our daughters, Justine and Jade, they worked with us throughout this project. And I think that having this exhibit was very important to them as well, to honor their brother. We each had our own ideas about the things that we were going to make, and we would just support each other on that. Like Justine had things that she wanted to make, and Jade, she worked on a set of beadwork for her niece, Lilia. And there's some split toe moccasins with it. So Ryan created the star blankets, and these dresses I made, but like he helps sew all the applique and stuff. He's really good at applique. Yeah, and Justine made that brown dress and the portrait of Jesse. And the bag was created by my daughter, Justine. After Jesse left, she started to work on that bag. The front and back depicts myself and Ryan's clan animal. And on the bottom, there's the paw prints of those animals. And they're sort of like staggered and mixed together. And for her, like that represents myself and Ryan walking together. On both sides of the bag, she beaded the 4 sacred medicines, and that's tobacco, sage, sweetgrass, and cedar. So I've been sewing from the time I was about 10 years old. That's when I started sewing. And the reason for the sewing was because I loved powwow and I wanted to dance. And I needed to be able to sew myself some stuff so I can go dance. But I didn't learn how to bead probably up until about 25 years ago. And so beadwork was something that I had to learn out of necessity, really, because I couldn't afford to buy beadwork. In the beginning, I started off doing geometric beadwork, which was not specific to Anishinaabe, the designs that I was doing. And over time, I started to experiment with floral beadwork.
Shannon has spent a lot of time researching and educating herself about Anishinaabe beadwork. And you can see that in her work, and the designs are from the past, but she also infuses her own voice and her own identity into the work.
I usually like to incorporate like flowers, and then you have like leaves, and then the vines and berries or buds. So I kind of keep those 4 components. I always try to include that into my design. I actually kind of felt ashamed that I didn't know how to do floral beadwork in the beginning because, you know, I'm Anishinaabe and that's, you know, a part of our history. And so when I started to create floral beadwork, you know, it was for my children and for my husband and for myself. And it was so that we can maintain our cultural lifestyle, which was going to powwows, like religiously. As you have children that are growing, they're growing out of things and constantly need to be replaced. And so the beadwork started as, you know, where I was just doing the beadwork, then eventually the kids learned how to bead as well. And when we would work on outfits for our family, it was always done together, or we would sit on pieces together. And a lot of the florals here are specific to Anishinaabe. These floral patterns come from our past, and the flowers have always been a part of that. I'm really fond of like old style floral patterns. I'm really fond of those old colors of beads that are really hard to come by these days. Especially for Ojibwe people, we like to use a lot of red and black. So you'll see a lot of red and black throughout here. I really took interest in learning how to create floral patterns, and a lot of the inspiration for my work comes from my ancestors.
When you look at the different styles and designs across Canada and the United States, is that it tells us about where the teachings about where people come from, but also about people's relationship with the land and with the water. And so the designs are going to be different. And just like with every single beader has their own language and their own style and their own way of doing their beadwork.
The thing about the patterns, a lot of the individual flowers or outlines of the flowers have come from somewhere. But it's how you put them together, how you place them and create this arrangement. Pre-contact, before beads, before we used porcupine quills, we were weavers. So a lot of the designs become geometric. In those designs, there were flowers, there were leaves, there were wild rice, there were animal prints. So those geometric designs, you know, still told stories.
Nowadays, you hear people saying they didn't grow up with beadwork. They didn't grow up with a gokum or an auntie to show them how to do beadwork. And they never had any patterns passed down to them. So something that Shannon has done is she created her own to symbolize her own family so that she can now pass that down.
For the beadwork that I create and the beadwork that is made for my family, there is a specific like set of flower arrangements that represent my children. And so you'll see a lot of that combination of flowers within the work that I create. There's a lot of that within this room. And that basically came from a dream. And the dream that I had, I was helping my son fix his roach. And on the top of his roach, the spreader, there were these flowers on there. And it was like this cluster of like tulip sort of flowers. And there were 2 pink ones and 1 blue one. And in the dream, those flowers represented my children. So whenever something is made that's intended for our family, we always include that within our beadwork. Even my daughters, when they bead, they'll always include that within their work. That beadwork was created when he transitioned to a man. And in the powwow world, we have these things that are celebrated. As a dancer, you start off as a tiny tot, and things are done within those stages. And as you grow up to a teenager and then to an adult, families work on new regalias, and then they're given at that time to honor them. And so when he turned 18, this was his regalia that we worked on together. And so that regalia, the beadwork, was one of the sort of the first times we've tried creating floral beadwork. So you can see how things have changed. And there's a lot of use of 3-cut beads, which the 3-cut beads make things a little more shinier. I no longer use those anymore, but I think that, they're still very, very beautiful.
So when it comes to regalia, like people wear regalia when they dance. And when you're dancing at a powwow, you're also, it's a form of prayer. When you're dancing to celebrate life. You're dancing to extend your gratitude. You're dancing to connect with your ancestors. And so each person, their regalia represents something to them. Some of it is so deeply personal that they don't necessarily will speak or share it, but they know what it means. But then there's other symbols and designs on the regalia that will tell other people a little bit about where they're from, who their families are, what their role and responsibilities are in the community. So it's very, very personal.
This regalia that's behind me, it's a woodlands outfit. It's the Ojibwe, the Anishinaabe original dance, and it once belonged in ceremony. As time went on, it started to get recognized in the powwow circuit. I wanted people to know who I am and not say, "Hey, are you Sioux? Are you Cree?" But I've been asked so many times, who am I and where you're from? And if you look at this woodlands outfit, it identifies exactly who I am as a person, the nation. I'm representing the Anishinaabe.
So the jingle dress actually originates from Northwestern Ontario. So that's something that is very special. It was a dress that was given to our people through a dream, through ceremony. The intention of the dress is used to promote healing. This dress here, this blue dress, this was actually made for my daughter Justine. Her Indian name translates to Blue Thunder Woman. And she's been always wanting to dance. She hasn't danced since she was a little girl, but I think she feels like she's ready and that it's time. And then the designs that are beaded on the cuffs, those designs actually represent thunder.
So Shannon made 13 ribbon skirts that are symbolic of the 13 moons. This particular piece, and I call it a piece even though there's 13 of them, is representative of her connection as a mother to her son. Along with these ribbon skirts are letters that she wrote to her son, and each of the skirts represent either a story, a teaching, even a memory.
There are a lot of different teachings, but some of the teachings that I've heard is that when we wear a skirt, It is something that connects us to the land because women naturally have this connection to Mother Earth. And by wearing a skirt, it honors her, it honors ourselves, it honors our bodies. And it's something that connects us to the earth, to the ground. When we go out picking medicines, we usually wear skirts. You know, like, and you think about like our skirts draping along the ground, like, you know, so gently, you know, that is telling her that, you know, we are there. There has been this huge shift within Indigenous women. There has been this explosion of creativity and, you know, women wanting to represent themselves and represent their identity. It is something that promotes a sense of pride. And I think that, you know, before all of this, we would typically just wear skirts in ceremony. And I think that that has changed, and we're starting to wear our skirts outside of ceremony and in everyday public, and we're okay with that. It's something that is becoming more and more acceptable. So that the design that's on that skirt, it actually represents what we call an otter slide or an otter trail. And that same design has been used historically. You'll see a lot of that design within like old beadwork. And that skirt came from a dream. And in the dream, it was just a simple dream. And I was standing by the edge of the water. And I was standing there, and I remember feeling sad and just looking out into this water. And so as I'm looking out into this water, and I look down and I see this otter, and it was white, and it was swimming up from the darkness in the water. And it just came up to the surface, and it stopped, and it looked at me. And in that moment, I knew that it was him. And it was like he just came up and it just wanted to acknowledge me, and he wanted to let me know that he was okay. And he just came and he swam and he turned away and just playfully swam away. And that was it. That was my dream, you know. And so, you know, I made a skirt to honor that. The act of creating, there's a lot that goes on in your mind while you're doing that. And so it was something that was done together as a family. And it just really gave us the time to spend together and, you know, like check in with each other, like, how are we doing? How, you know, are you okay? And when I think about this whole process, especially the skirts, like they all tell stories. While I was making like each and every one of them, I'm constantly thinking about the connection between myself and my work, and the connection to everything else.